What's going on, movie friends? Hope you're having a pretty good day. I'm the Viking, and this is my first reaction review for James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I got to see this movie on the biggest screen possible, and I definitely recommend that you do the same if possible, because it's just made for the biggest screen you can see this on because it's action packed. I got to see this movie a week early before the US, which I was pretty excited about. I got to go to my local movie theater, get some popcorn, get some drink, sit down, chillax, and watch this movie and have a really, really good time because it was a brand new DC movie. But when this film was initially announced, I was not excited for it. I thought it was a little bit disrespectful to David Ayer because of what happened on the first movie with him, his creative freedom, the vision, the Ayer cut, stuff like that. Still hasn't come out, but I just thought it was a little bit disrespectful at the time. And then there was talk that this was going to be a reboot of what David Ayer did. I still wasn't too impressed by that. But then the casting announcements started to come out. Margot Robbie was returning as Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, Amanda Waller. So my interest did go up a little bit more, but it was more curiosity than anything. James Gunn, of course, fired by Disney for his tweets online. DC went in straight away. They got him. They gave him the Suicide Squad movie and he started filming as soon as possible. Then later was rehired by Marvel and he's also doing Guardians of the Galaxy now as well. So, look, I don't think that any other DCEU director would get the creative freedom that James Gunn got with these kind of characters than James Gunn. I don't think, well, obviously not Zack Snyder or David Ayer or Cathy Yan. I don't even think Patty Jenkins would get the creative freedom, get the budget that James Gunn got with these type of characters because, Polka Dot Man, King Shark, Weasel, these are weird characters that you would think would not work in live action form, and probably the only director to be able to do them was James Gunn, and he does an unbelievable job here. Now, did I enjoy this movie? The marketing did not impress me whatsoever. The trailers were uninspiring. I just didn't care for the characters, didn't care for the story. I was obviously going to go watch it anyway because it's a DC movie. I always go see the DC movies opening night like I just seen with this one. Just came home. But did I enjoy it? Did I have a good time watching this movie? The trailers and the marketing showed us nothing for this movie because this is a ride from start to finish. The pacing of this movie is unbelievable, guys. It really, really is. You're put into the main plot of the story in the opening sequence, and that's the story throughout. You're on this journey. It's like a video game. It's like you're with these characters, like you're playing with these characters. It's just funny because there's a Suicide Squad game coming out soon. Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, but you feel like you're on a journey with these characters. And when James Gunn was saying that characters die left, right, and center in this movie, I thought he was being maybe over-exaggerating. He wasn't. Characters die left, right, and center in this movie. You get attached to a character. I think the tagline for this movie is "Don't get attached." Don't get attached, because that's what I did. And I felt sad. I was about to cry because some of the characters on the screen that I really enjoyed, that I really liked, were killed off. And I'm like, no, please don't kill them off. And then other characters that were kind of living a little bit longer, I was getting attached to those. And I was like, you better not die because I really, really like you right now. And that's what he does. This is a huge film in terms of action. Great action. Really, really well done. I don't think there was any poor CGI or anything like that. Maybe a little bit with Harley Quinn because she's a human and she's able to jump around and stuff like that. Looked a little bit off. But other than that, I think the visual effects, the action was all fascinating. Really, really well done. Blood, gore, F-bombs all over this movie. This is an R-rated movie. And I criticize Birds of Prey because I don't think it pushed the R rating enough. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad pushes it maybe too much at times because it's hard to watch some of the scenes, how characters die, how extras die or soldiers or stuff like that. They die in a brutal way, or I'm like, this is hard to look at. Even animals die, and I'm like, what are you doing, James Gunn? You're going to get cancelled again. But he does a really, really good job of it, and I think this is an amazing movie. I really, really do. I don't think it's the greatest DCU movie of all time or anything like that. Obviously, that's Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I think it's very close. It's a really, really well done movie, and this movie has a rhythm, it has a beat to it, where it's very, very fun. It's also very, very emotional. It's definitely heavy in places. You feel for the characters. You get attached to the characters, as I said. But it's not a comedy fest. People were saying, oh, it's just going to be Guardians of the Galaxy, 2.5 or, something like that. It's not. Because unlike Marvel, James Gunn here, when he has his full creative vision, knows when to use comedy and when to use drama. He doesn't ruin a dramatic scene or a dramatic moment with a one-liner at the end or a stupid joke. And yes, there is some stupid jokes in this movie that do not work, but they're done in a comedic scene, not in a dramatic scene. And that's the difference. That's the big, big difference right here. And I'm going to be interested to see how James Gunn is perceived by audiences after Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because I think a big question will be, does James Gunn work better with a studio that has a formula, Marvel, or a studio that gives him full creative vision, DC? Because here, he was just brilliant. The rhythm, the beat. It's hard for me to describe the tone of this movie because, yes, it has some fun. It also has some comedy. It has some dramatic moments. It has some heavy moments. It has some gore. It's very hard for me to describe the actual theme of this movie. And also there's a theme of kind of being a human being, about, realizing what it is to be human, how to treat other people. That's a big factor to it as well. And as I said, there's so much action in this movie. And then you feel like maybe the movie's going on for too long. And then it gets to the Starro character. It's in the trailer, Starro the fish, Starro the Conqueror from the comics. And you're like, what? We've gone, what? How long have we been going right now? This movie's been on for ages and we're only getting to the big third act now. But then when the third act gets going, you're like, I don't want this ever to end because it's that damn good. It's really, really good. And I think this movie, it feels like a 3-hour movie, even though it was just 2 hours, I think, but it's so fast paced. There's so much going on at times. There isn't really a wind down time with these characters. And there's loads of development, there's loads of chemistry, but it's just the pacing of this movie, the timing of scenes, the timing of the action is really well done, and it makes it feel like a longer movie than it actually is. Now, some of the standout characters in this movie for me is John Cena's Peacemaker. This is his best role. Peacemaker is John Cena's best role because he's brilliant. And we all know that John Cena can do comedy. We've seen him in different comedic moments in movies, and he does a pretty good job in cameos and stuff like that. But where John Cena really stands out is his dramatic acting in this movie, especially as the movie goes on, after the middle, near the end. His dramatic acting, there's a scene, you'll know when you see it, he's just fantastic. And it makes me excited for the HBO Max Peacemaker series, because John Cena, I don't know if John Cena has improved as an actor or John Cena has found the director to get the best out of him, and that's James Gunn, because in that scene, phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. Ratcatcher 2 has so much emotion as a character. I felt for that character so much. King Shark is a stupid character on paper. He's a stupid character on the screen at times, but his character development, by the end of the movie, guys, you just feel for a CGI shark. It's crazy what James Gunn does with the character development in this movie. From when we first meet them to the end of the movie, or when those characters die, I don't know how he did it. It's really very hard to describe how James Gunn was able to throw all these comedic moments into it, all these dramatic moments, and also have a full character arc. Really, really well done. Some negatives that I would have for the movie maybe is sometimes they reference locations or characters from the DCEU universe, and they never really show us. They just talk about it. I would like maybe a cutaway scene to show us that location or that character. I just think it would be cool. I think it would create some nice world building, very much like how the first Suicide Squad had the Flash, it had Batfleck, Joker was there as well. It had a lot of world building. This movie didn't really have that because it was its own contained thing, but I thought it was still very much done well. Another negative I would say maybe is there's a scene with Harley Quinn and a male character. I don't want to spoil it too much. For me, I didn't know what was going on. It didn't really make sense. It didn't really work. The first half of this movie with Harley Quinn is a little bit off. The second half is definitely the best part with her. I don't think this is her best portrayal as Harley Quinn. I think maybe Birds of Prey maybe is her best, or maybe parts of the first Suicide Squad movie with David Ayer. She's very well done in that. Here, she's very good. She's not the main focus of this movie. It's definitely Bloodsport, Idris Elba's character, because he's the main character for this movie. But then again, it's the Suicide Squad. There's so many characters to get to. I thought the score at times was pretty good. The use of songs, the soundtrack was interesting. Some of the music I never heard of before, which I'll definitely go and listen to again. And I think it suited some of the scenes that they were doing. But guys, the Suicide Squad movie, I really enjoyed it. For a movie that I was not hyped for a movie that I didn't really care for, because the marketing I thought was very piss poor, I was surprised how much I liked this movie. I really enjoyed this movie. And this is only my first reaction. I've yet to kind of process the movie and sit down and actually review it lengthily like I will probably do tomorrow in a proper. I know this is probably a long first reaction, but I've just got so much to talk about, so much to explore with this movie. And I definitely want to talk to other people on Twitter or Instagram or even here in the comments and just get their idea of the movie as well. So I can definitely explore what James Gunn was trying to do, because it's very hard for me to describe the theme of this movie, but I had a good time. It's full of blood, gore, the action is very, very well done, the one-liners, the dramatic moments, the heavy moments, the character development. I was exposed to characters that I never heard of before, or characters that I'd heard of before, but I never really seen them on the big screen, or because I'm not a big comic book reader. Polka Dot Man, Weasel, King Shark, Javelin, the detachable kid where his arms come off. These characters are weird, they're interesting. That's why I'm saying that James Gunn, if it wasn't James Gunn doing this movie, I don't think any other director would have got the creative freedom that he got with the budget that he got to really explore and to really pay tribute to these characters in a very good way. And I felt for a lot of these characters. And there's some characters that end up dying that I wish did not die, because I would love to see them return for a Suicide Squad 2, 3, or a Suicide Squad spin-off or a series or something like that, because I think they were just that damn good. Amanda Waller, as always, is just, she's even revved up even more from the first movie. Remember the first movie where she shoots the employees? Just think of that, but 10 times worse. She's just badass in this movie. Captain Boomerang's got some nice funny moments. Harley Quinn, as I said, is good. Rick Flag is definitely a big improvement from the first movie. He's way different, but he's way more likable. I really enjoyed. He actually has a very good moment in this movie as well, a very intense, dramatic moment. And I would say that this movie is very intense as well throughout, very, very intense. And when it gets to the big CGI, fest of Starro, I really like that action sequence. I really, really liked it. I would just go pay money again just to watch that again, because it was so, so good. But guys, have you seen the Suicide Squad movie? Maybe you have. Maybe you got to see it a week early like I did. But maybe you have to wait a week. But what's your hype levels right now? With all these positive reviews coming out that it's James Gunn's best movie, I wouldn't say it's the greatest DCE movie, but it's a pretty good movie. It's really, really good. What's your hype levels right now? Let me know below. Guys, give a comment, subscribe. Really appreciate that. Come follow me on all the social medias, Movies That Matter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. But guys, what's your thoughts on my reaction to the Suicide Squad movie? Am I getting ahead of myself? Do you think maybe I have to process the movie a little bit more? But I had a good time. I really, really did. For a movie that I was not hyped for, I came out with a big smile on my face. And there's 2 post-credit scenes. The first one, I'm a little bit critical of, which I'll probably get into in a spoiler review or maybe a review tomorrow. And then the second one is pretty cool and gets me hyped for something that's coming down the pipeline. But guys, let me know your thoughts below, what your hype levels are for the Suicide Squad. Maybe you've seen the Suicide Squad, and I'll probably do a full review tomorrow and a spoilers review discussion, maybe talk about those post-credit scenes, because some of those parts were pretty cool as well. But guys, thanks for watching. I really, really appreciate it. This is my first reaction to the Suicide Squad movie, just out of the theater. A little bit long, I know, maybe it's a review. I have so much to talk about, and I haven't got to see a DC movie on the big screen since Wonder Woman 84. Some of you don't like that movie. But guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy your night. And I really appreciate you watching this video and getting in the comments.